Hello to all my friends out there. Hello to all my new friends out there. I have a lot of new followers and I'm very happy about that. So I'm parked in the shade, rule 2. And this video is 10 problems we might encounter in the near future. We might not. But if we prepare, if we do encounter these problems, we're going to be much better off. Okay, number 1, recession. Some people are predicting a recession is coming. Some people are predicting we are already in a recession. Okay, we saw the real estate tank. It was a few years ago. And out here in San Diego, the real estate was slashed by 50%. They could devalue our real estate again. Another thing that might happen is if you think you're going to the bank and borrowing money against home equity, you might not be able to get it if the recession is bad enough. I remember a recession. It was a pretty bad recession. It was a long time ago, maybe 30 years ago. And I was working as a hair stylist. I was the only one that had a checking account. I was the only one that could cash a check. And well, not 30 years ago, recently, I would have to guarantee my paychecks to deposit them. I couldn't just deposit them as cash. And I didn't realize that, and I got very nasty at the bank. It was an ugly scene. One time I had a paycheck and they didn't even want to let me in the bank. I go, I'm a member of this, it was, and then they sent me a letter, okay, you can come in. So anyway, so what you're going to see, if we do hit a recession, is they could devalue the property. They could make it harder to borrow money. And people without good jobs, good solid jobs, could find resistance at the bank, even getting bank accounts. I have seen that. About 5 years ago, before I retired, and I'm so grateful to this guy, he told me take out as much unsecured credit as you can. Now, a lot of people say don't do that, but try to go out and, just take out a lot of unsecured credit right now. It's not as easy as it was 5 years ago, and you might need it. So it won't be as easy to get unsecured credit. And for some people, it might be totally and completely impossible. And if you destroy your credit, you might have a problem. Right now, there's a big deal about your credit score, so you want to keep it up as high as you can. That's going to help you during a recession. During the one recession, where no one could cash the paychecks, I went to the bank on a Friday and I wanted to withdraw $3,500 because I found this little deal on a house, and they gave me a huge hassle. Finally, I had to call my dad down there, and I got the money, but it was a huge hassle to get $3,000 out of the bank cash. Another thing they're saying is they don't want to see your cash sitting in the bank. They don't want to see your home equity sitting in your house. They want to see a cash flow. So that needs to be considered, during these recessions. And I also heard, and I think this is accurate, if you want to borrow some money, make sure that you have the money you're going to use sitting in the bank at least 3 months. That's a good rule anyway. So, okay, a recession might be coming. Let's just say a recession is coming. This thing with Hong Kong, I don't think we're going to get out of this. It's going to cost us somehow. Well, the Chinese the Chinese investors could pull their money out of the U.S., that'd be good. I hope they do. I hope they go right back to China, where they're really going to have a recession. Your best bet is to keep small and keep secure in your own world, you know? Try to go cash only as much as possible. So do everything you can to guard against recession. Food shortages. There could be an increase by the end of the year. Let's just say by the end of the year, we could see a food price increase. Signs to look for: long lines, like you're standing around forever in the grocery store because they have reduced their business expenses, less checkers, and you're standing around in line, you know, with very few people doing the checkout. And complaining isn't going to help. And the store is looking unkept, and some of the food items are missing. The shelves are in disarray because they're not stockers, you know, working hard to keep the store. Missing items. One really bad signal of a bad food storage are the food banks very low on food. That'd be a bad sign. So what you want to do in that case is you want to stock up on food, and you want to locate the food that you eat all the time at the lowest possible price. The steak I bought it on markdown. Was it the best steak I've ever eaten? No, it actually wasn't that good of a steak, but you know, I'm forcing myself to eat it. I would say in the case of food shortages, you want to go to the highest quality food you can afford. So rather than buying cheap food, it might be better to buy more expensive food marked down. So if you can get a $4 loaf of bread marked down to $2, or, you know, in the case of the steak I bought, $10, I got it for $6, things like that might be better. And then, you know, I've done several videos on food storage, and put it into the back of your mind that we could be hit with food shortages. That'd be bad. Most likely what's going to happen is your poorer people are just barely going to be able to afford food and lodging, or, you know, rents. Housing. Okay, what they want to do, Agenda 21, and I mean, they are blatant about this. You know, don't invest in homes, invest in rental property. Why? Because they expect a lot of people to be living in those apartments, and you know, not being able to get home loans. So I think it's best we all move to being homeowners. It's much more secure. I had a customer, and he was really, really old, and it took him 10 years to get himself a house. So just put it in your mind that you've got to get yourself a house. But you want to protect yourself from the recession and various things that happen, so you don't lose that house, so you don't lose everything. This is one of the things in Hong Kong that's interesting. You know, I've heard some of the business people saying if it doesn't work out in a year, they will actually lose everything. So over there, they're in danger of losing everything. I think the most vulnerable people in society are going to be the renters. I had the bad experience with the owner wants his apartment back. What if you didn't have the money to move? I mean, I could have ended up on the street. I'm still not happy about that. I moved, it cost me thousands of dollars. What if you don't have thousands of dollars? You know, these videos, cheap RV living, you know, those people, that's not a joke. That is not a joke. You don't want to end up living in your car. Okay, number 4, violence and protesting. We've seen protesting in Hong Kong. We've seen, problems in Portland. Okay, so, I live in a border town. The potential is there. So, if it starts getting violent here, I have a strategy. I'm not going to be here. So you want to have resources, if you possibly can, to evacuate areas that are violent, where there's protests. Possible the police could just let the people run wild and just pillage the place. So I think it's extremely dangerous if we give up our weapons. So violence and protests. Okay, on eBay there's been an issue of third-party items not selling. So that means, okay, second party would be I went to Walmart, third party I went to the Goodwill, and then I sold on eBay. So third-party items are not, going well. So the solution would be move out of third-party items and sell second-party items. Just go totally out of the third-party business little by little, and there's a reason. So okay, now let's think. Let's see, why could these because the poor people are going to have less spendable income. It's not that no third-party stuff is going to be sold. So you want to go out of third-party, I would say, selling, and go into a second-party situation. 6, contaminated water. Could that happen? Yeah. It was reported, I think it was in Northern California, Agent Orange in the water. Yeah, our water could be contaminated, probably is contaminated to a certain extent. So what you want to do is you want to take steps that you can secure clean water. When I was working in the back country, I heard some thing that people didn't even have real access to their own well water. So, potentially, you could find yourself unable to access your own well water. Possible for that is they want to make us pay for drinking water. That would make sense. So, probably best to get a water filtration thing as soon as you can. Some things cannot be filtered out of the water. When I was doing the healthcare thing, we weren't supposed to throw the medication down the toilet because it could contaminate the water. I told you guys about, I was in a shop and the guy sprinkled out ant powder all over the shop and rinsed it out and rinsed it down the street. And no sooner was it done, a guy from the waterworks was there. Chances are you're not going to be given free access to water to be able to rinse stuff out, much less poisons. Anyway, the guy was there within minutes. Okay, loss of jobs. There could be loss of jobs, mass loss of jobs, as these retailers start going down. We've seen it. This, I think his name is Andrew Wang thing, makes me nervous with the guaranteed income. Oh, well, why would that even be out there? Well, possibly because if there's no jobs, that could work in with Agenda 21. So you want to do everything you can. What I would say is try to get rid of everything third party in your life. Try to generate your own income somehow. Now, when you're selling on eBay, you're not really a second-party seller because eBay can control you. Okay, we're not selling third-party items anymore. Also, we have, you're paying 10% to us, 5% to PayPal. You're paying tax, 8-9%, maybe more, depends how much money and you're paying to post the stuff. So it's getting to be like those democratic socialists. That's what it's like. That's not, 50% in some cases. So you want to move off those venues and start creating your own ability to earn money, independent of other people. Whatever you have to do, figure it out. Even at the swap meet now, it's like $30 a week to get in, and more. I heard Kobe's was $60. So try to come up with cash money income, because in your banks, what they want to see is they want to see a cash flow. That has been mentioned. That's the only thing that's going to work. So you have to work with the system. Okay, health care. Okay, certain people might be denied health care. Like if they deem you unfit for survival, you just might not receive any health care. Okay, how would that work? Well, if they can delay your health care 1 day, 3 months, 6 months, I believe there's going to be, I believe fat people to be at risk, so you want to try to get your weight under control. I'm going to be doing these videos on how to control your weight. It's really not that hard once you realize that most likely the processed food is the culprit. So you want to move away from, you want to avoid health care if you can. I mean, if you're in an accident, and then you want to make sure that, my ex-husband was a veteran, and he got a lot of health care. He really did, but, he's not alive. So you want to avoid health care. Try to stay as healthy as you can, eat right, exercise. Main thing is you want to keep your standard of living as high as you can. You want to concentrate on food, water, and a clean, dry place to sleep. Okay, some areas may become uninhabitable. If you find yourself living in areas that are just hammered with floods, hammered with environmental toxins, hammered with violence, these areas could actually be uninhabitable. And you're going to have to take steps to find a way to get into a more decent area. When I was caused to move, I moved to a better area, so I was nothing but lucky that this happened. So you want to, if your area is getting uninhabitable, if the levees are breaking, if there's continuous hurricanes, dangerous weather events, in the future. I mean, if you can see it coming, try to remove yourself before, something really bad happens. Okay, no meat. Okay, we know that they're trying to come up with these lab-created meats. They're trying to come up with vegetarian alternatives and, say, okay, this is meatless meat, or, whatever it is, beef in particular. So you want to prepare, okay, if we can't get that much beef, what are we going to do? Well, they have soy. Oh, well, really? Well, a lot of the soy wasn't planted because of the floods. And what big fat soy eating country do we know that might purchase our soy? A lot of people go, that's ridiculous. Really, I was working in Point Loma, and I knew a business owner that was having trouble getting paper pulp. He was manufacturing high quality paper plates and paper goods, and the Chinese were gobbling it up. So don't think that it can't happen in regards to soy and everything else we grow and produce, because it probably can. I think it was Sweden and Germany wanted to put a tax on meat. What it's going to do is it's going to drive the price of beef up, and the only people that are going to be eating beef are people with more money. So, okay, so if that would happen, we're going to have to come up with more vegetarian meals and less meat meals. Oh, and I had a good comment. It was on, let's see, it was last night, and it was Bob Fowler Spam Goulash. So I went online and I found the actual recipe, really hard to see, and it was 1964, and it was spam. He had leftover veggies, egg noodles, and cheese. This was on the back of the veg-all can, and they added mushrooms, mushroom soup. So it was like a tuna casserole with spam. That might be good. You can still get spam pretty cheap, but that's a processed food, but it's better than nothing. Okay, so we might be having trouble getting beef. In the time being, I would try to pack my freezer full of beef. There's a couple of approaches. You could just buy big pieces of beef and cut it up and grind it yourself. And same thing with the big hams. You know, buy big portions and cut them up smaller. Or you could do the other way, where you buy small portions like the dollar hamburger patties that are flat and pile up that way. Okay, another possible problem would be weather events. One thing that could happen would be here in Southern California is the boiling heat. Okay, right now I'm parked in the shade. Sometimes it's really hard to find shade. When I would go to the casino, I would see trailer parks that looked like they were built on a parking lot. There was no plants, nothing. It was just trailers. So, you know, you want to be on alert. You know, if we're hit by some, it might be safer for fire, nothing to burn. But if everything around you is burning, you know, if it's a big, huge fire, you know, these big heat waves and no water might not be good. Right now I'm 100% cooler because I'm parked in the shade. Same thing in your dwelling. You know, I'm very lucky where I live now. And I don't know how I could be lucky because, you know, I had 4 days and I evacuated the place. I am always prepared to evacuate. I'm not letting anyone devastate my life. So, okay, weather events, floods, you want to know which way the water is going to run. So and the water generally runs from north to south. And like here in San Diego, you know, it would flow right down into Baja California. That's the way it runs. So, you know, fire is a bigger danger, but floods as well, you know. So hurricanes, the things that would be really deadly would be no water, fire, earthquakes, hurricanes, that kind of stuff. Be prepared for those at all times. Okay, and then just one more thing. Okay, the big news. Okay, when the biggest news in the country is Epstein, that's the big news in the middle of a recession coming. There was a little bit of news on the recession on CNN. I did watch one. But is that the big news? No, but it is going to be the big news for us if one hits. Main thing is start securing a house. You know, start getting all the third party stuff totally out of your life. Like an apartment is a third party. You're paying to live there and you're paying someone to live there. It'd be better to have your own house. Somehow, might not be the best house, but somehow maybe move somewhere where you can get one cheap. One time I heard a thing about a lady and she had 2 boys and she moved to Las Vegas so she could get a house. They had this thing where once a year they would all donate money, and once a year you would get one person, they would get the house, and it was her year, and she moved and she got a house in Las Vegas. So there are ways. Now that would be bad to live there. But, you know, there's a lot of places you can evacuate there. Like Arizona is very close. California is very close. So she was actually able to greatly improve her lot in life. But she said, if I stay here in New York, I am never going to get a house. Okay, I have not bought a house recently, but I will be buying a house. I will not hurry into buying anything because I think that's how bad things can happen. But just take your time, put it into the back of your mind. It's got to be done. It's your survival, unless you're going to be stuck in Agenda 21, where these rich people are buying skyscrapers and you're living under those circumstances. I was watching a good video last night. At night I work, and so I listened to videos, and it was about a couple, and they were brother and sister. You know, they met when they grew up. I think they're living in Germany. Anyway, the state came in and removed 3 of their children, and was trying to get the 3rd one, and they were having a very difficult time living, you know, breaking the law. But, you know, in this area where they were living, you know, they were accosted by the neighbors and everything else. And you might be going, well, that is a totally ridiculous example. Well, really, could that ever happen to you? Yeah, it can, and it could be in the very near future. Maybe they don't like your race. Maybe they don't like your religion. Maybe they don't like your whatever. So you want to take steps to protect yourself against being caught in areas. Well, you know, when I lived in the apartment, it was just very hard for me to exist because they wanted the apartment back. All right, so now I'll just go real quick through the 12 things. Recession, food storage, housing, violence and protests, third-party selling, contaminated water, loss of jobs, attack on fat and unhealthy people. Areas could become uninhabitable, no meat, weather events, and is the big news the big news? Okay, you guys, God bless you all.